On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we're breaking down Aqib Talib talking about Pat Surtain, and you're going to love what Aqib has to say about Pat. And then we're going through the schedule, and Aqib is going to break down Pat Surtain's top wide receiver matchups this year. Which one does he think is more difficult, Ja'Marr Chase or Malik Nabers? It's interesting. Let's dive into it now. We're talking about two of the top 3 or 4 cornerbacks in Broncos history today on the DNVR Broncos show. So we had to bring in the big guns, Andre Simone with Henry Chisholm. We got Dion, Andy here behind the camera, and Zac Stevens rocking and rolling with you on the DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. Fellas, how we doing?
It's impressive. No breaks, no breaths at all in that.
Yeah,
that was really good, Zach.
I think that's my
that
singing
was really
background.
good.
Yeah. As a child.
Oh, man.
Yep.
If anyone can find that footage, it's hitting Dove Kleiman's account in 10 hours. Over under 10 hours, I'm taking the under by a mile.
I'm like 3 months into having Dove and like that ML football, like all those guys just totally blocked. So I haven't seen any of their garbage in so long, and it feels so good.
How is life? Good?
Oh, it's incredible. It is so good not
That's what
hearing
made
anything
your
they say.
life better, huh?
No, it was a turning point for me.
Wow.
Like when I no longer had to hear Ari Merov ever send a tweet.
Dude, he's a good
Shots.
one.
They're all the same.
No,
Like,
Ari's
the
a
one
real
who-
human.
I don't. Yeah,
He shows his face.
he shows his face,
Respect.
but again,
Respect to Ari.
it's just as it's just as annoying. You know, he's still doing the same, just like.
Wow.
You know?
He has some sources. Schefter retweets him often.
I don't see those. I have that blocked.
He's missing.
Yeah, no. And I think even then, I think Schefter will just send the tweet himself. And if Schefter gets it 30 seconds later, I'll be just fine.
Right.
Wow.
In a perfect world, I wouldn't even be on my phone, but that's a little too optimistic. That's the next step of
100%.
blocking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's move to Montana. You know, let's look for some property.
Yeah. They do. I mean, they do have the internet there. But
then
You
yeah.
are trying to
Go
be
cordless.
off your phone.
yeah, I mean, you could be off it there.
You guys would miss out on these podcasts if you're off your phone.
Yeah, that'd be sad. I'm
Let's
happy.
put it on the TV.
Shout out to everyone that is on their phones
I
and
got
joining
you.
us today.
I
We
got you.
appreciate you. And Dre, your hat is just incredible.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's corduroy. Is this
Yeah,
what this
I
is?
think so.
It's corduroy hat season. Yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I'm mourning the Nuggets. Somehow at 37 years old, I still feel losses like this, like I did when Italy was eliminated from the 98 World Cup.
Yep.
Or the Jags beating the Broncos in 96. I thought the pain would be alleviated and it might be worse than ever. And frankly, this job isn't helping. So
Oh,
thank you
no.
for the compliment on the hat. And it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. And so anyways, I'm wearing the hat because I'm trying to transition out of my Nuggets gear, but still got a Nuggets shirt.
Yeah.
You know, we're figuring it out.
Yeah,
We're figuring it out.
one step at a time, one
That's
piece
right.
of clothing at
That's
a time.
right.
You're doing a good job. I thought you
Thank
were
you.
wearing the hat to try to make a campaign for yourself to be Mr. Bronco.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Could I self-nominate?
Yeah, you can self-nominate, yeah.
We all, you know, the Arthur Blank nominated himself to the Falcons
Yep.
Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I have thought as GM of DNVR of maybe pulling that. move.
Oh, yeah. Like signing the celebrity wall that we have?
Well, for one, like people like you two should definitely sign it because you are celebrities.
Oh,
You've
what?
signed things before. Have you ever signed an autograph?
My signature's real garbage.
Did you sign the bottom of your hat? Is that the signature that's on there?
No, there's
Oh,
no
okay. I
signature
thought you
on this
signed your
hat.
own
No,
hats.
no, I wish. No, I forgot where I was going with this. But yeah, I might induct myself in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Speaking of Arthur Blank, R.I.P. to Jim Irsay.
Yeah,
Should we?
yeah,
Yes.
very sad. Seems like it came out of absolutely nowhere.
Kind of the youngest owner.
Yeah, he's the youngest owner.
Well, I mean, he's up
close.
there.
Yeah, it's 65 years old.
It's pretty young
so
for an owner.
thinking of the Colts and Jim Irsay, all the stories that come out. It's unfortunate that all these stories have to come out like after someone passes away. And that's why like Arthur Blank inducting himself into his own Hall of Fame when he's still alive. Like respect, honestly. Like I don't know if Jim Irsay's in the Colts Ring of Fame or whatever, but he will be. I hope he is. I hope he got to see that moment happen before. But yeah, I mean, just literally 24 hours ago, he was tweeting about how the Pacers are. He's giving all his luck to the Pacers and stuff, and that happened to be his final tweet. And maybe he came through for him last night.
Insane game.
That
was a great game.
bounce at the end of regulation. That was maybe the most dramatic thing you could ever do in a sporting event. Like that might be the most dramatic individual play I've ever seen.
Life rewards confidence.
Wow.
Halliburton's got it.
Halliburton's got it. He steps back like that, and he gets the bounce.
For a second, I thought he was like my new favorite non-Nugget basketball player who had never played for the Nuggets before. Because it was just like so sick to go hit that shot and do like the choking thing.
Yeah.
Does it get like with Reggie Miller on the call?
Yeah.
Obviously, like game 1 against the Knicks also. But then afterward, I heard him talk about it, and it kind of lost the allure.
Wait, why? I didn't hear him talk.
He the one that really like kind of triggered me a bit was when he said, well, I can't do it again because you can only do it once, otherwise people are gonna say I'm aura farming. And he used the phrase aura farming, and I was like, nope, I
don't mind.
I don't know. There goes like that dog mentality. Like Reggie Miller would never say aura farming.
I mean, he did full choke. He like both hands. And then for it to go into overtime too, like that wasn't actually the game.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't blame him for that because it looked like it was the game. I thought it was the game. But then he couldn't go out there and lose in overtime. And then they got down 5 quickly in overtime. Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
That's honestly, that's what I want to see the rest of the playoffs is like just entertaining games because that's my best way to cope with the Nuggets being out is like, okay, at least make these some entertaining games. But speaking of entertaining, we've got our Mr. Bronco campaign going on. And because yesterday was such an entertaining show with Aqib Talib on, we've got to give you an update on what happened yesterday. So yesterday we had Quinn Miners going up against Jonathan Cooper, and Quinn won. Henry, wasn't it like 91% of the vote?
Something like that.
So he ran away with that. So now we've got our final 4.
Quinn went over who, sorry?
Jonathan Cooper for Mr. Bronco. So now we've got our final 4 set. On one side of the bracket, you've got 1 seed Garrett Bowles facing 4 seed Quinn Miners. So no upsets so far on that side. And on the opposite side, still no upsets going on. You have Alex Singleton, the 2 seed, going up against Cortland Sutton, the 3 seed. So the top 4 seeds remain here. And today in the Toyota chat, we want you to vote on the 2-3 matchup. Alex Singleton going up against Cortland Sutton. So you have to be on YouTube live during the show for this. So vote. It's now in the YouTube chat. Vote on which one you think isn't the best player. It's Mr. Bronco. Henry, why don't you remind everyone what Mr. Bronco is, what they should be voting on?
Yes. So we stole this from the Nuggets guys who named Gary Harris Mr. Nugget because he was like the glue guy, first to go visit Yoke in Serbia, all sorts of that kind of stuff. Then it went to Monte Morris briefly, and then to Aaron Gordon, who is probably the best Mr. Nugget.
Certainly.
Heart of the team, soul of the team. He always puts the team first. And there's one other piece.
Just
that kind of stuff.
Anything
Heart and soul
for
of the
the team.
Yeah, team
City
first.
oriented.
Yeah.
Loves Denver.
That helps.
Yep, 100%. More than just about the team, about the community. Yep, embracing everything.
Yes.
It'll come to you.
There is. There's one more very important line, like the defining line.
Can't be a quarterback or the best player on the team. Just like Jokic, he is the face of the Nuggets.
Very important.
Because he's the best, but can't be the quarterback because of that, and can't be the best player. So we have eliminated before it even started, or we have disqualified Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, Sam Ellinger. There was a push for Sam to be on this. And Pat Surtain, because he's the best player, is not on this as well. Dre, let's break down this matchup for a second.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
And Quinn might be too good to qualify.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Just saying, guys. Just saying.
But it's the best player on the team. You think Quinn is better than Pat?
See, but I don't think it's necessarily like I think there's a world in which your best player is the guy. It's just a lot tougher because like it's rare that you look at your best player and say like that's a glue guy. And it's like it's just impossible for a quarterback to be a glue guy. Like you're the thing being glued. You're the most important part of the whatever you're gluing together. But I do think it's not Pat.
You can't be the most valuable planet if you are the sun.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think that like it's not even just like it's the best guy can't be it. It's like those top few guys, it's kind of a tough case.
Henry, we've been talking about this for 4 days. Why did you not bring this up about Quinn until today? We set the bracket. We've done multiple rounds of voting.
I said repeated, like we had a long talk about like best player being the like can it be the best player? And I said I thought potentially.
I don't think so.
I'm looking at guard contracts.
In the right situation, maybe. Yeah.
So let's quickly break down this matchup as people are voting because we're letting you vote on who is Mr. Bronco. That only seems fitting. We got Alex Singleton against Cortland Sutton. Henry, how you feeling about this one?
This is going to be a blowout.
In what way?
Really?
I think it's a Cortland blowout.
Wow.
And I don't necessarily think that's right. I don't think that's where I'd vote actually, but I think that's going to be.
It seems like a lot of love from the chat for Alex, or maybe I'm just seeing.
As there should be.
Well, Alex was on the show more recently than Court.
I could be wrong, but if I was a betting man, well, I am a betting man. If we had odds on this, I would be taking an alternate line and saying, not only is Singleton being upset, it's going to be a wide margin.
Well, what margin? What margin are you?
I think like 85-15.
Wow.
That's my guess.
So you'd buy the plus 69 margin.
Well, maybe I'd go with like the plus or the minus 50 or so and just give myself a little room. But yeah, no, I'd go Alex here. But I mean, Cortland's been a Bronco for forever. Like great personality, all totally sorts fair. Of like a whole bunch of points that he's built up in his corner over the course of the last 8 years.
A lot, man. Sticking around, not holding out from camp, being invested and being part of this new era with Bo Nix. Both these guys big in the community. You know, it was awesome seeing Alex at the Rapids Unified game and all he's doing with UC Health and that kind of stuff.
The night before, he held his own event for Special Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Court, you know, he's been at all these games with Bo. Like he's got that that selflessness to him.
Yeah.
Right. I think he's shown that time over time. So it's this Final Four, we've got some real titans here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm curious to see how it plays out. So let's see if Henry's right. That minus 50 spread that he's buying at what, plus 500?
I hope so.
Is what you're getting it at? I think that's what the books are offering. That 365, I mean, they're about never being ordinary. They probably got odds on Mr. Bronco right now. So vote for that. And let's hear from Aqib Talib after I give a shout out to our friends over at Lucy. And Lucy's a big time friend because they help a lot of us at DNVR get a little loosey-goosey, have a little fun because Lucy is 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free, and they've got Lucy breakers. So they sell normal Lucy's, which are just normal nicotine pouches. But then if you want to get a little extra flavor, a little extra hydration, they've got Lucy Breakers, which are nicotine pouches that have an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. And you can set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door by going to lucy.co/DNVR and using that code DNVR is going to get you 20% off your first order. And Lucy has a 30-day refund policy, so if you change your mind, you can get a refund. No worries about it. That's how confident they are in their product. So go to lucy.co and use code DNVR for 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Also, shout out to Toyota. Yeah, every time I hear the word Toyota, I just think my mom has this little baby Yoda thing, like an actual toy Yoda. And every time I hear it, I think of the little Toyota, and then I think of the little Toyota driving around. Very futuristic cars, so they kind of make sense in space. They're really at the forefront of all sorts of different stuff. Yep. Obviously capable of going off-road and doing all that stuff with the Tacoma, Land Cruiser, but also they have these 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. They offer more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker, give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. Toyota's the best. They've got 17 miles with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. So whether you're trying to off-road, whether you're trying to be more efficient, whether you're trying to help the environment, they've got something for you. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores, a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East and Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West and Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
And let's go out to the interview that Bennie Fowler had with Aqib Talib. It's good. The entire 30-minute interview is out on our YouTube channel. Go to DNVR Sports YouTube and click on the video section, and it's one of the top videos right there.
Do it after the show.
Worth your time. Yes, do it after the show. But we're going to hear some bits and pieces from the interview, and today we're going to focus on what Aqib had to say about Pat Surtain, because, guys, we know how good Pat is. Mm-hmm. He's the Defensive Player of the Year last year.
Yeah.
He's already becoming like a future first ballot Hall of Famer. After hearing from Aqib, it makes me think maybe we aren't even valuing Pat enough, because Aqib knows what he's talking about, and boy, does he just love Pat's game. So let's start off by just hearing Pat or Aqib talk about Pat's game. And Benny asks a question here. Let's hit it.
What do you love about Pat Surtain, his technique and the way he played the game? And then we dive into his matchups for 2025.
Right. I just love his technique, man. If he playing cover 2, it looked like clockwork. If he playing cover 4, if he playing man press, you can tell that he grew up getting technique hammered into him. Like I grew up with, I don't want to shit on my coaches or nothing, but I ain't grow up with the best DB coaches, bro. I didn't grow up with a dad who played. My dad was at work from 2 p.m. to 11. I grew up raw athlete, and just because I played outside so much, I had this confidence that it take me there. But you could watch my film in Kansas. I'm cocked inside, kick sliding like a lineman, giving free releases. Man, I had no technique at all. I just had great ball skills and a great instincts for the game. So you could tell immediately, you could see he grew up with somebody, his dad, who was hammering in that technique, and he just so polished, bro. He looked like a 10-year vet from day one.
Yeah.
And that's my envisionment for my kids. My son play corner, and I'm on him about technique mentality. It don't matter who you playing. If you just stand on your technique, stand on your mentality. And I feel like that's what Pat does, man. His dad did a great job installing whatever he installed in him, because he polished, man. He polished and
Man, it keeps so spot on. Like, shout out to Pat Surtain for Pat Surtain II.
No doubt.
And I mean, it really is crazy how when he was at Alabama and watching him from the time he got to Alabama till the time he graduated, it was, I mean, the technique and the mentality. Like, Pat Surtain was always as cool as the other side of the pillow. And then his technique was just always perfect. And literally, when he got here, he looked like that 10-year vet playing cornerback. And maybe that's why, like, for a couple of years, he was just overlooked, is because he was just so polished that quarterbacks weren't even trying to throw at a rookie.
I mean, Hank, you get to break down his film every single Sunday night, Monday morning. Like, it's just so flawless, man. And I love that a guy like Aqib is pointing out the mentals. Because Aqib could get up and down, as Benny covers in this interview, you know?
It's true.
But, you know, you guys have had Pat on the show a bunch of times. And, I mean, he's like that off air, on the field, on the practice field. Yeah. He is just cool as a cucumber, you know? And that's not an act. And I think there's some inner confidence to that. And, I mean, standing on your technique, you can stand on his mentality for sure. Like, he's not trying to impress anyone. He's, you know. And at Alabama, the only thing I would notice is sometimes he'd almost get surprised when he'd get beat on a deep ball. You know, like he was in perfect position. It'd almost be like, oh, didn't think they'd throw it this way, you know. And once in a while, a guy would win a 50-50 on him on like a longer gain. The rest was like flawless.
That is a good point.
And he has cleaned that up in the NFL too.
And then, because what was his 40 time?
I want to say in the 4.4s. I can look it up for you.
Low 4.4s.
Exactly. And that's why Like when you have guys out there running like the 4.3s, then you see like those couple of deep balls. That's how people start overthinking in the draft and saying like, I don't know, like sure he's big, but is it worth it when he's...
To your point, he was the second cornerback drafted in the draft.
Yeah.
Insane
So
that the
silly.
Panthers didn't take him.
Totally.
He's also 6'2", 208.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like to be that flawless for you to be so in control of your body and be able to master that technique so flawlessly at that size is really hard, man. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And Aqib gets into a lot of the size stuff later on because the matchups he likes for Pat are probably more the size guys. The ones that maybe he's more concerned are the undersized guys, and that's from his experience.
Yeah.
You know?
And that probably still is the knock on Pat now. Like if you were to find like what's the one thing you could clean up at this point, it still is like when he loses, it is down the field. And it's rare. It happens. I mean, like it happened. There's the Robbie Chosen play. There's like the Devontae Parker play. Let's see. I thought there was one last year too. But again, it's like once or twice a season that same thing really happens. But obviously, that's not enough to prevent you from winning Defensive Player of the Year. I hadn't thought about that in a while though.
I can't think of
Yeah,
any
right.
last year.
I know.
I feel like he's really cleaned it up. Like now, I mean, part of it is you stop getting challenged after a while too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I want to ask Pat, now I think there's enough time in between it, but he really has not been beat in my recollection after the Devontae Adams. He has it.
Over the course of a game.
What did he say though? No. He what was Devontae Adams?
He's not there yet.
Yeah, he's not there yet. He's not there yet. And since then, he's been there, including covering Devontae Adams has absolutely shut him down.
He's 25, man.
It's crazy. He's
I mean, you're right. It's almost hard to give him the proper praise because it's kind of mind blowing. All the boxes he's checked out off 4 years into his NFL career.
And I think we're going to realize just how impressive it is when Aqib breaks down these wide receiver matchups that we're going to dive into. But one thing I want to get to before that is Aqib Talib was given shit to Bennie Fowler about how he had more touchdowns in his career than Bennie. And he's like, I played defense. You played offense, man. And the reason is because Aqib was a pick six master, one of the best to ever do it in the NFL. And so I love this question from Bennie. Bennie asked him, what can Pat do to get more pick sixes? Because that's like pretty much the only thing that maybe he can be better at. And I mean, even last year, he had a pick six that was literally season saving and season changing for the Broncos when he took 100 yards back against the Raiders. But how can he be like Aqib and get to 10 pick sixes in his career? Here was Aqib's advice, which I loved.
What's your advice to get him more pick sixes, though? He had a 90-something yard pick six last year. How do you get him more pick sixes?
I don't know if he do it or not, but you remember every time I got a pick in practice, I went to the crib.
Every time.
And I didn't start that until I got my first one in Tampa. Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start doing it. Ooh, I started doing it in Tampa. And I feel like when I started doing it, now they started coming. So every pick you get in practice, walk through, whatever, just even if somebody tag you, tackle you, just go to the crib, man, and you gonna practice how you play, man. So if he don't do it, I don't know if he do it now or not. I ain't seen too many practices, but if you don't do that, start getting them picks in practice and just put an emphasis on it, and they gonna come, baby. I promise you. Near
100%.
sideline too, it's the easiest thing in the book. But you see guys get these picks and cut back across field and do all this. When I started getting all my pick sixes, I got picks, I cut in, went near sideline every time, and they start coming like this. You know what I'm saying? You look at my first 20 picks, my first 15 picks, I probably had 2 touchdowns or something, but I used to cut back and do all that extra. And I wasn't scoring. I started going near sideline, like Coach said, start practicing it in practice, and they start coming, man. So if he don't do that now, hey, get to
Near sideline, Pat.
Okay, fellas, you've watched plenty of practices. Is he practicing his pick sixes?
We don't watch that part of practice.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to, I should
Sean,
say.
you're killing me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back to training camp, because training camp we get to watch the entire practice. I can't remember.
I don't know that he had a pick in training camp.
Yeah, I don't
Jeez.
remember last year. Every quarterback was too afraid to throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield.
Awesome.
No quarterback threw the ball more than 10 yards down the field in training camp. It made for like a head scratching camp where like, can these guys not do it? Are they too afraid? Are they being coached not to do it? So that didn't give Pat many opportunities. But when Aqib was talking about you got to go near sideline and stop, just go straight. Don't go back and forth.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Brandon Jones's pick 6, where Alex Singleton actually tore his ACL on that play, or not pick 6. Could have been a pick 6, but his pick against Tampa Bay in week 4 last year, he tells the story after where all of his teammates were like, dude, if you just would have kept running down the sideline, we were all blocking for you. But instead, he tried to go in and out, and then he got tired, and then teams caught him. And it's like, man, Aqib, if he just would have taken Aqib's advice, maybe he will take Aqib's advice now. Near sideline, just straight down, follow your blockers. That's will lead to touchdowns.
Makes sense.
Yep.
4.42 speed.
4.42.
Yep.
So he's got
Not 4.37
got
like
the
JC
wheels to
Horn.
return it. That's right.
Yeah.
What
Shout
an
out to the
important
40 for letting
differentiator.
Pat fall to the Broncos, I guess.
I mean, how different this defense would be.
Oh, my gosh. How different the Panthers may be.
Yeah.
Like they may have not, they may have been
Right.
a win or two better where they're not trading that haul for Bryce Young.
That Bama duo, Bryce and Pat,
Man, that's
steady Eddies.
yeah. That's crazy when you think about it. Yeah. The defensive player, only the 7th cornerback to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's just like, let's just dive into the conversation because Aqib breaks down 8 different wide receivers that the Broncos play this coming season, and it is just fascinating what he has to say about who Pat's toughest matchup is going to be. And so I want to do that, but first I got to give a shout out to our friends over at Mando, where they have got you covered from head to toe with Mando, because if you want to smell good, you've got to help your body out. You've got to put some deodorant on. Mando isn't just the traditional deodorant that you think of, like you just put on your armpits and you're good to go there, but everywhere else is a little dicey. No, Mando, you can put it in pits, balls, butt cracks, grundles, legs, feet, anywhere that you think you want the little extra support of deodorant. They have got you covered there, and they've got fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. And here's an awesome thing with Mando is they've got a starter pack, which is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And if you use the code DNVR over at shopmando.com, they're going to give you $5 off that starter pack. With all of that together, that equates to over 40% off your starter pack by going to shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com, and use that code DNVR. And please tell them that we support or sent you to support us. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
And shout out to our friends over at Raising Cane's. Today might be a good Raising Cane's day. I haven't done a good job eating lately.
Damn, I wanted to wear a Canes hat. I should have checked the read.
You should have.
I had that amazing racing hat.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to have more opportunities in the future.
Bless you.
Thank you.
What if? Oh, we should also say Draft Pod later. Maybe you can get a Raising Cane's hat for the Draft Pod
That'd be
later to make
sick.
up for
That'd
it.
be sick.
Raising
Remember
Cane's
when
the
we
best.
went to Canes with all the boys?
Yeah,
that was
a good
electric.
day.
That was
That was a
really
good day.
incredible.
I know. I got to figure out what to do for lunch today, and I'm thinking now it's got to be Raising Cane's.
Dang, that's a great
Yeah.
call right there.
It is.
Great call.
Yeah.
You can sandwich it Justin Michaels style, Texas toast,
Oh, yeah.
slaw,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
chicken in between, little special.
The cane sauce.
Cane sauce?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to eat for a week after that. Oh, it's so good. Raising Cane's are the best. The hand battered, crinkle cut fries are always crispy. They're perfectly salted. The Texas toast is buttered to perfection. Dive into Flavor Flav's faves. It's Cane's o'clock. Time to dig in. Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One love.
And shout out to the Toyota chat. Some good questions. Jeremy, if you don't know what a grundle is, Google it. I'm not going to tell you.
I don't know about Google.
Don't Google
Not
it.
Google images. Google.
Sometimes it does what it
just,
thinks.
Just words. Okay, ask ChatGPT.
Ask
I don't know.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
actually
yeah,
might
yeah.
be a more
Because you-
savory solution
Yeah, because
right
you
now.
could also say, "What is a grundle?
What is a
no
grundle?
pictures allowed." Please.
Right.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah,
it
yeah.
appropriate.
Wow.
And
please.
shout out to Angel T, who is throwing it back to yesterday's comment from Aqib Talib. He says, "If you put your nuts to the floor, You want Mando, which of course, if
Yeah.
you want to
Yep.
beat the Chiefs, you gotta drop those nuts, as Aqib Talib
Drop
said.
those nuts. Yep.
The
Easy.
legend himself. And speaking of the legend, let's get in
That's
to him
shirt-worthy.
breaking down these wide receiver matchups. I absolutely love this idea that Benny had to go through all of the wide receiver matchups that Aqib or that Pat might face this year. And guys, the first one he started with, he didn't see anyone worthy on the Titans. He didn't see anyone worthy on the Colts. He didn't see anyone worthy on the Chargers. So it got to week 4, Monday Night Football. The Triple Crown winner, Ja'Marr Chase, coming into Denver. We saw this matchup last year. We've seen it twice. We're going to get it a third time. Here's what Aqib had to say about this matchup.
Let's jump into his matchups, man. His notable matchups here in 2025, man. The first one, Monday Night Football, Ja'Marr Chase, man. How does Pat perform against Ja'Marr Chase?
That's gonna be his toughest matchup. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because Jamar, that guy. I love Jetters. I love the guys who the guys in the league, man. But top dog in the league, the number one hardest cover in the league right now is Ja'Marr Chase, man. The size, the speed, the break tackle, the ball skills, it's all there. The route running, it's all there. So right out the gate, I think he get his toughest matchup. But Pat is Pat, man. I think it'd be a great matchup. It's Monday night. It'll be the only game on TV. So they both better bring it, man. That's my favorite corner, and that's my favorite receiver. So I'm ready to see it.
Who does Ja'Marr Chase remind you of that you played against that you had a battle with?
To me, Jamar Chase is like a big AB almost, and he like a big. To me, it's twitchy, it's great routes. It's as soon as he catches, he upfield. It's not here running back. And I feel like that's how AB was. And quiet as kept, AB had great ball skills.
Yeah.
He a little bigger than AB, and he got them ball skills, man. So to me, he is a 6'1.5", 6'2" AB.
That comment right
What a comp.
there shows me that I think even we might be underappreciating how good Pat Surtain is. This is Aqib Talib, who loves Pat Surtain, and he's saying that Ja'Marr Chase is the toughest matchup, not just on the schedule this year, but he said you throw Justin Jefferson in here, who the Broncos don't play this year, but you throw any single receiver in the NFL in here, and he's the toughest matchup because he's the best receiver, and it's hard to disagree with what he did last year. I mean, the Triple Crown winner, meaning he had the most receiving touchdowns, he had the most receptions, he had the most receiving yards in the entire NFL last year. So Aqib is right. But guys, Aqib's talking about Ja'Marr being this good. Well, we already have 2 matchups of Pat Surtain against Ja'Marr Chase. In those games, 2 full games, Pat Surtain has held Ja'Marr Chase to 4 catches for 30 yards in 2 full games. The best receiver in the NFL, the Triple Crown winner last year. Pat, in 2 full games, has held him, when he's been covering him, 4 catches for 30 yards on, I believe, 9 targets. Insane. Like, this is Defensive Player of the Year award on steroids.
Yeah.
It's even crazier than that. And to hear it from Aqib say that, and then look at what he's done in this matchup in the past, it's just, I can't even wrap my mind around it.
I mean, it's wild, especially since Ja'Marr Chase got him for 100+ yards last year in the OT game, you know. But they gotta pick their matchups and try to go away from Pat, because there's no other way.
And that's what they did really quick. Pat covered him in 77% of Jamar's routes last year, and he held him to 3 catches for 27 yards in that game. The other 23% of the snaps where Pat was not on Ja'Marr is when he went off for 80 more yards.
Right. All his production came from that. It's insane.
Yep.
And I mean, the AB comp is like a truly electric one. What's always stood out to me about Ja'Marr Chase is how competitive he is at the top of the route and at the end of the route, right? So at the catch point, just like a dog. But it's not phasing Pat. And then at the top of the route also. But I mean, like, Pat's so flawless. You're not really going to get him off the snap.
No, not off the snap. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. I like the comp. I haven't really thought of it that way, but yeah, it makes sense. Like all the ball tracking sort of stuff downfield on top of the shiftiness in tight. It is interesting. I mean, it's just tough when you have the best receiver in the NFL to find somebody historically who compares to him because you're so unique.
Yeah.
Like there's like only 10, 15 guys in the history of the league, maybe even less, that you could compare him to without insulting him.
Right.
And the odds of any of them lining up with the way that he plays are just so slim. So bigger AB is an interesting way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And as Aqib said, this is Pat's toughest matchup of the season. Again, this is a guy, when Pat plays him, he holds him to 2 catches for 15 yards per game. And that's supposed to be his toughest matchup this year, according to Aqib Talib. And that's probably, according to everyone, his toughest matchup. So that makes me wonder, is this actually his toughest matchup? Or because Pat clearly owns him, is there another one that's a little more difficult? Let's go through some of these other ones and hear Aqib break them down. And tell me if you still think Ja'Marr Chase is the toughest matchup. Let's hear the next matchup that Benny brought up, which is A.J. Brown and the Eagles the following week.
Week 5, the next week, bro, is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, Super Bowl champs. They, defending Super Bowl champs. They got him on the road. How you think Pat shows up in that matchup?
The one matchup, that first matchup is, I think Pat gonna do his thing, but like I said, Jamar dog. The rest of these guys, man, I don't think they could do nothing with Pat, man. I'm talking about it's everybody's missing something.
Yeah.
And he gonna dominate that. Put it like that. That'll be AJ. He dominate that one. Go to the
A.J. Brown's such a good receiver, and Aqib is just like completely writing him off, rightfully so, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a better matchup for Pat than Jamar. Just like, again, if the one concern you have with Pat is that like guys could get behind him, like Jamar is obviously capable of doing that. A.J. Brown's not getting behind Pat. Like you need to have like that special freaky speed, and because of that, Pat just, again, there's nothing to fear there. Like it's a big receiver and you might lose some of those battles. Like there might be a couple slants that you give up to him just because he boxes out. But with Pat's closing speed and all that sort of stuff, there might be more catches for A.J. Brown, but there's certainly much less of an explosive threat, I think.
I totally agree.
The wide receivers he can match up with physically are just going to have such a hard time. That's their advantage, right? The bigger wide receivers, it's their size advantage. Well, where you don't really have a size advantage to exploit, it's going to be a really long day against PS2. Much like it was a really long day against the Aqib, I mean, that was just one of those where it's like, nah, you're cake.
Right.
And I think it's where he matches up decently with Ja'Marr Chase, too, Like, he starts that matchup by taking away that advantage.
Yeah.
So now it really comes down to that competitive edge. And I mean, winning on the margins, and all of a sudden, Ja'Marr Chase's life becomes much harder.
Exactly. Also, I remembered it was Mac Hollins who got Pat last year in the playoff game.
Huh.
That was the one. I was thinking through the regular season. That's why I couldn't remember.
Then the next week is a smaller
flushed
guy.
that game completely.
Smart.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me too.
It's another guy. It's a smaller guy. It's Garrett Wilson. Does Aqib worry about Garrett causing problems since he isn't a bigger guy?
Garrett Wilson, week 6.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, a little twitchy. He a more twitchy guy. You know what I'm saying? With me, I always had my toughest coverage was the smaller, twitchier guys. It wasn't Julio. It wasn't AJ Green. It wasn't it wasn't Megatron. It wasn't the bigger guys. It was the smaller, twitchier guys who kind of gave me a problem. Now, we'll see. We'll see how Pat do against him, but I think he'd be good. Pat got way better technique than I had. So that'll help you with them smaller, twitchier guys, man. But I could see Garrett creating some type of problem with just the route running, the quickness. I think he already strapped him before, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, I think last year.
Yeah, last year I think he already strapped him. So he already got a whole game to work off of. So I think he'll be just fine. Yeah, I give him a few underneath catches. He'll tackle him, get him on the ground. He'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think Garrett Wilson, this might be the game that Garrett Wilson demands a trade after the game because he gets 3 passes thrown his way. He catches 1 ball for 7 yards, and realizes I'm stuck with Justin Fields as my quarterback
Yeah,
here.
it's tough.
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not worried about the twitching, and that's also something that you have to include with these conversations. Who's the quarterback? That's what makes Jamar Chase extra dangerous.
100%.
Is it's Joe freaking Burrow.
100%.
It's Justin Fields here. If I'm Justin, I'm not throwing that direction at all.
Seems smart.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. It's exactly what we were just talking about, the size. Lad McConkey does have a better quarterback. Now, Lad McConkey, not Garrett Wilson exactly. But I do think some of what Aqib's saying about that kind of matchup maybe could translate to that matchup against the Chargers.
Totally.
But again, it's how you pick your matchups in that as well.
I think McConkey probably, not that either of them is scary for Pat, but to me, scarier than Garrett Wilson. Just the different things that they do. I don't. Both those guys. I guess it comes down to you see so much of McConkey in the slot in particular, and that's where it's tough for Pat to get his hands on him. Whereas Garrett Wilson plays in the slot too, but it seems like they aren't motioning him quite as much as like Lad they're bringing in right next to the line of scrimmage.
Right.
I think that's what makes it tough because with a guy like Garrett Wilson, Pat can just swallow him up. Especially if you're playing like cover two, like you have a safety over the top and there's really no threat. Like Garrett Wilson might not get off the line of scrimmage against Pat. And so you have to make some of those decisions about, it's a little bit different if you just leave Pat on an island. Are you willing to let him take all those risks? But to me, the McConkey matchup, while similar, is a little bit trickier.
And that's why having Jahdae Barron now is such a big advantage because now you're
sir.
not worried if they do slide him inside. Okay, now we're going from Pat to Levi Wallace. No, you got a guy in there that you really like and really trust. Guys, this next matchup, I think, is the biggest competitor to Jamar Chase for being Pat Surtain's toughest matchup. Here's Benny asking him about this next one.
Next week is Malik Nabers, young buck coming out of LSU.
Nah, Malik. I call Malik Little Jamar. He's a little Jamar. They kind of the same build. They kind of got the same game, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if he polished enough as Jamar. So I think he'll control his own, man. Malik Nabers explosive. He might get something quick and get some screen yards or something, but I don't think he'll go up top on him. And he's not as shifty as them little guys. He's shifty, but not as much as like Garrett Wilson and them little guys. So Pat'll be just fine.
So I agree. Pat's going to be just fine. But because we already have evidence of how much Pat owns Jamar, again, 2 catches for 15 yards is what he averages going up against him. I would, if there's odds over at Bet365, I'd take this as being the toughest matchup for Pat this season because he owns Jamar Chase. We don't know what he's going to do against Malik Nabers, and Malik is the little Jamar. Now, maybe that means that Pat crushes him even more than he does Jamar Chase, but this one, I guess, worry's not the right word because I'm not worried. It's Pat Surtain, but this is one where it might just be a little more difficult because it's a new face and Pat owns Jamar.
And I would throw Brian Thomas in there too. Because again, Brian Thomas, another rookie last year, 4.33 speed, who was 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards. Especially if you factor in quarterback too. Like the Giants, I mean, Trevor Lawrence wasn't great. He's better than Russell Wilson though. You know, at least in terms of feeding a single receiver, he can get that job done.
I don't baldy open my eyes to Trevor Lawrence yesterday.
Good.
Is it 2-13 in his last 15 starts, or is
I
it
believe
2-15 in his last 17
They fell apart.
starts? Like,
he's
my
been in the league,
goodness.
4
Yeah.
years, and 3 of those seasons are pretty disastrous.
I mean, I'm like, he's probably not even like a top 20 quarterback in the NFL right now if you're going to go through it. But Russ probably isn't a top 35 quarterback in the NFL.
No doubt.
So
I mean, by then you might have it's week 7. That might be Jackson Dart time,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
or you might get another Jameis game.
totally.
Yeah, Jameis steps up, I guess, for Broncos games.
The LSU-Bama rivalry strong for Pat in these wide receiver matchups.
It's
The
very
3
true.
guys you just
Totally.
named, they're all go
Yep.
Tigers.
I think he's good as long as he doesn't have to go up or as long as the Broncos don't have to go up against a Bama receiver as they did with Jerry Jeudy last year.
Well, and I wonder, like the Eagles, we talked about A.J. Brown, who's going to cover, Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
That is the Bama guy in that mix.
Yep.
I agree completely with the assessment of Nabers, though. And I mean, where Nabers lacks a little, technique, mentality.
Yeah.
That's what Pat's going to have to lean on there.
Yeah.
Such a good point.
Nabers versus Thomas is a tough one for me because I think just pure play style,
I
you'd
think it's
probably
Thomas
rather
for
play
sure,
Thomas. Thomas is tougher.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, just a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to get your hands on. The kicker though,
Right.
is that he's
Maybe for Pat, it's actually
and,
reversed though, right?
And that's the tough part.
That's a
But I
good
think
point.
the kicker might be that he is every bit as fast as Malik Nabers. And so for all like the Nabers gets free, gets loose, like the twitchiness underneath, he does probably have that on Brian Thomas. And that can be tough on Pat, but the pure speed from Thomas is there too. So I think that probably is the tougher. And if you factor quarterbacks, it's definitely tougher.
So then the next week is the Cowboys, which is Ceedee Lamb, George Pickens. On this show, I think it was just yesterday, if not the day before, we threw shade at George Pickens. Aqib Talib says, don't be throwing shade at him, but when it comes to the mentality, the dog, Aqib says this one isn't even close. Let's hear from Aqib. I think you're going to like this.
Week 8, we got Ceedee Lamb, and then they just obviously added George Pickens. So Pat's matchup against Ceedee, and then overall the DB room in Denver versus the receiver room now in Dallas.
Yeah, that can go a couple ways, man. They might just throw Pat on Pickens and double CD when they play man, you know what I'm saying? Or they could just put him on CD. That can go two different ways, but I think Pickens is a tougher cover than people give him credit for, man. To me, if I got one ball to throw and it's a 50-50 ball one-on-one and I get to pick one receiver, I might pick Pickens out of everybody.
Really?
Because them ball skills is top notch, bro. Them ball skills that Pickens got is top notch, and his hands is top notch, man. So he a tougher cover than people give him credit for. But I think no matter how you do it, man, Pat gonna be good versus both of those guys, man. I feel like his mentality, CD, my guy, I love CD Lamb, but and George, but I think Pat just more of a dog. He more of a dog, man. He got a stronger, not saying they whiny guys, but he got a stronger, non-whiny mentality.
Okay, we got Ceedee
Okay,
Lamb.
Aqib doesn't want to call George Pickens whiny. I'll do it. He's whiny. And Pat is the opposite of whiny. I just found it interesting, and I'll take Aqib's advice on this. He knows it better than I am, just about how tough of a cover George Pickens is. And I'll remember that come the Cowboys game, but I'll also remember what this Broncos secondary has, and I'm not going to be scared about it.
He's the ultimate wild card on and off the field.
Yeah.
He could also be having a terrible game and just pull a rabbit out of his ass and, just make like a huge play out of nowhere, right? And it doesn't matter who's covering him. It's just like, oh, Pickens kind of like saw God that one play and like came down with it, you know? The talent has never been a question for George Pickens.
Yeah.
Everything else is a question. And I wonder how much Aqib sees himself in a guy like George Pickens. Because if you guys remember, before he was kind of rehabbed by the Patriots that one year and came to Son of Bum and the Broncos and kind of found, he's a bit of a wild card himself, as talented as can be.
Yep.
Raw talent-wise, few could mess with Aqib Talib.
Yep.
But all that other stuff, right? And I think that's kind of the book on George Pickens in a lot of ways.
Great
It's like
point.
on talent, size, speed, all that stuff, he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. It's all the other stuff, though, that's like, he's barely top 30.
Pickens should have gone to UNC and got the football rehab under Bill Belichick instead of going to the Dallas Cowboys with a brand new head coach. I don't know if he's going to get that rehab there.
Yeah. The thing is, he's going to get the ball so many times there just because it's a functional offense. Like you have Dak Prescott there. You're going to be throwing the ball.
See.
Like,
You have Ceedee, though. He's
totally.
also a guy that demands the ball a lot, and rightfully so.
but you're going from the Steelers to playing with a quarterback who's going to be top 5 in passing attempts this year. And like that's going to be great for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what Aqib is saying makes sense because with Pickens, it's not necessarily like the separation or anything. It's just the tough catches he makes. Like the tracking on the sideline.
Yes.
Like we saw it with the Bengals when Riley Moss was in great coverage on T. Higgins over and over and over. But just with that size differential and how good T. Higgins is at making those catches, like it just didn't matter more often than not. And I think with Pickens, if you put Riley on him, I would expect maybe not to that level, but maybe to that level. Again, like if Pickens is potentially a top 10 receiver when used correctly and not crazy and whatever else. That means T. Higgins isn't a top 10 receiver. So I think the idea that you could put Pat on Higgins, on Pickens, very similar names, and then double Ceedee could make sense. Because again, most teams would double Ceedee because he's that good. Like the guy puts up 80 yards a game for his career. It's like 1350 a season. It's just over and over. Just turned 26 like a month ago.
I think that's what
trending
Belichick
up.
would do.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Put your best corner on the second wide out and bracket the other one, and let's roll.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just don't think Pat would like it.
Yeah.
I think
you might be right.
I think
Might be
Pat
right.
wants to play CD.
In this scenario, though, like if George Pickens really is this talented as Aqib says, maybe there's not much of a difference from CD and Pickens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've really got to see it from Pickens.
Agreed.
And I'm
Agreed.
curious how this is. What CD's a $35 million a year receiver.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be okay getting 20% less passes thrown his way if the Cowboys aren't 12-5? If they're 8-9, if they're 9-8? I'm just so curious to see how this goes because as that was an
Ambulance driving the other way.
on the street. Wow.
Legends.
Hope
Prayers
everyone's
up, my guys.
And really quick, we are sitting here at the DNVR bar. And if
Yes.
you
Damn
want to
straight.
join
Damn
us
straight.
at the bar, become a diehard. Because if you're a diehard, you
on,
get
baby.
discounts when
Come
you come
on.
to the bar. We're having watch parties here. We dropped our happy hour during the playoffs. It's like incredible deals.
Yeah.
We got $3
Oh, yeah.
beers going on. We got $3 wells. You want to be here, and then you're going to get a discount if you're a diehard as well. And becoming a diehard, you not only get a discount at the bar, you get a discount on all of our merch, on all of our events. You get all of our access and coverage online over at thednvr.com. You get a free t-shirt of your choice. And we got the introductory offer going on right now. We're less than $50. You're going to get all of this, again, plus a free t-shirt, and you support us as well. And speaking of supporting us, if you are tuning in on YouTube, hit us with a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. That is free support right there that everyone can do really
on.
quick. We appreciate everyone tuning in with us. We appreciate Aqib Talib giving us the time. We appreciate Bennie Fowler for getting this awesome interview and conducting a great interview. And we want to hear the rest of
Insane
this.
stuff.
So we got 4 more receivers that Aqib talks about. We're going to hear them all right now so we could get it in. So let's start with the first one, a bigger receiver, Nico Collins.
Maybe my favorite breakdown of all.
Nico too big, man. Pat gonna dominate big guy. If you ain't got that twitch, bro, strap. Pat gonna dominate bigger, slower guys. That's right up his alley, bro. He gonna.
Yeah.
And now the next one, we'll just keep them rolling right here, where we will go with Rashee Rice.
Yes, the Chiefs breakdown was a good one.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice. It depends on if he coming off, how he looked coming off the
Right.
injury. He was explosive. How
And
you
I don't
see
even
that?
know if he'd be on Rasheed like that because Rasheed a big slot guy for them. He catch a lot of the drags, a lot of the underneath catch and run, quick screens and stuff for the Chiefs. So I don't even know how much Pat would be on him. That might be the young bull Baron. You might be in the slot on him dealing with Rasheed. So it's hard to match up against the Chiefs too, how they play. It's hard to kind of shadow a guy and follow him against the Chiefs. So I don't know how that matchup would go, but if he was an outside guy and Pat was on him, he'd dominate.
Terry McLaurin, a route runner, a little bit
Now, see, that was
shiftier.
another smaller, shifty, and he got that gas too. So I feel like them kind of guys, Pat like me, he'd be taller than me, a bigger guy. So I feel like those kind of guys, the Garrett, the Terry, them kind of guys present a tougher matchup just because the size different, the quick.
We got week 16, Brian Thomas from the Jags, LSU kid, or Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
What'd you think there?
I seen Travis 2 times in person, man, and it was impressive, bro. Is he bigger than you think? And the short space quickness and that burst is all pro like, bro. I seen it live, and I'm a believer in him. But I think he's gonna have some work to do just to, you going against pro corners and stuff now. So it'll probably be the other guy, and he kind of remind me of AJ a little bit. He kind of that AJ kind of guy to me. So I don't know if the route running is there to present enough of a problem for him. So he'll be just fine against the Jags.
Yeah, Aqib was like, I'm taking Pat against all of these guys. The only one that may concern you a little bit is Terry McLaurin, and
Scary
Terry
Terry.
McLaurin is a heck of a play. Yeah, scary Terry. But all the other ones, including Travis Hunter, which, by the way, he goes on to say Travis Hunter is going to be the rookie of the year. But this might be the
Big
worst
believer.
matchup of the year for Travis Hunter, is going up against a guy that's big, physical like Pat, and then also just an absolute technician, because Travis Hunter is so talented, but also raw as a receiver, and it will be toward the end of his rookie season.
Yep.
But yeah, this is going to be a scarier matchup for Travis than I think people are going to realize.
Trevor Lawrence starting this game, Hank, by week 15.
It's got to be.
So
I mean, he's got
Who's
to
their
be.
backup?
I don't know, because
Mac
it ain't
Jones is
Mac
gone.
Jones
No.
anymore. Here's the question, though, Hank. If you do put Pat on Brian Thomas, which I think we agree
Yep.
on, right?
I think so.
Do you go Thorpe Award winner against Thorpe Award runner-up? Jade just have at it with Travis?
The
Get a
good
little
news
help
is
over the top?
you've got 7 months, almost to the day, before you need to make this decision.
Hell yeah.
And by then, we'll know a lot more than we do now.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah, we'll see.
And then
That'd be fun.
And then
Yeah.
you flip it and have Jade do a couple of routes on offense to go up against the or the runner-up Thorpe winner and Travis Hunter at corner.
Be incredible. I don't get the feeling Sean wants to use JB on offense, but
No, I don't think
it's
so.
a good thought.
If you're
Zach.
going to
It's
use
a good
anyone, it would be
thought.
Pat Surtain.
Terry McLaurin's going to be a fun cover right after the bye, so you got some extra help on that one, some extra studying. And I mean, the Chiefs stuff. The manning him up, as you guys covered on the show. What do you do with Rice? What do you do with Worthy? How do you treat Kelce, as he's maybe not the matchup nightmare that he once was?
Yeah.
You know, is it just as easy as having a single high safety to cover Worthy and kind of the stretching the field ability? And Rice, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where Rice is at in after not playing last year, right?
Totally.
And then is
Yeah.
he going to be suspended for 8 games this
Yeah,
season? How
right.
long is he going to be
Yeah.
out this season as well? And I feel crazy saying this.
Oh, don't feel
The
crazy,
Chiefs
Zach.
offense, the Chiefs weapons
Uh-huh.
aren't scary. Like
Yeah.
the scariest thing, which is very real, is Travis Kelce going 7 yards downfield, and he just has this connection with Mahomes
Right.
where they know
Right.
exactly where they're going to turn. He's
Right.
going to get his. But if you could just put an underneath guy and put an over the top guy on Travis Kelce, that should really limit his production. But with this Broncos secondary, I'm not worried about Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. Maybe I'll look like a fool later this season. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes, you have to be worried. But man, the weapons themselves don't scare me at all.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I would say so. It does feel like kind of a waste to put Pat on Rice, because again, it's just like a short catch and run guy.
Yeah.
And so like Pat's great at making tackles. If they're throwing screens to Rashee Rice, do you want him to be that guy? Like, he's capable of doing it. He'd probably do it as well as anybody else, but it might feel like a bit of a waste in some ways. I think on all those little drag routes, again, like the Broncos play so much off coverage that I think that you're just allowing a bunch of short catches,
Right.
especially on first and second downs.
Right.
And so I don't know that you're necessarily erasing a bunch of those little drag routes, especially when they play so much zone anyway. So I almost go into this thinking, I guess there are two thoughts. One is you just put him on Travis Kelce, which we've seen in the past. And if the Chiefs' offensive line is really so bad that they aren't running the football, then there you go. Like, there's your answer. You're going to be a little bit lighter than them if that's the route you go. Not too much, though. And that might just make the most sense. The other option is to look at how the other cornerbacks match up and say, like, okay, who would Riley fit
Yeah.
best with?
Yeah.
And kind of pick those matchups first and say, Pat can lock down any of these guys. Let's just figure out
Right.
how to make these other guys look the best.
And then you determine where the
Yeah.
help comes. Yeah.
But it's usually a bad idea to not build your defense around your best player.
Right.
But this is one of those cases where, again, it doesn't feel like it matters all that much who Pat's on, unless you want to do the Kelce thing.
So I want to know, who is the toughest matchup for Pat, and how worried are you about that? We're going to answer that question, plus get to our Mr. Broncos poll and our super chat in overtime. Go to thednvr.com. where the conversation will continue online. That's thednvr.com.
Nice
All right,
transition.
fellas, what is the most difficult matchup after going through these, after hearing Aqib talk about it? Henry, which one is it?
It's got to be Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb. I think those are the two that you go back to and just say, like, those are premier receivers.
Yeah.
And normally you'd say Jamar Chase because he's the better receiver, but given the history, I'll go Ceedee just because it's a little bit more unknown.
That's fair.
It's a tough one. For me, it would have been between Jamar and Scary Terry McLaurin.
That's fair.
Just because I think that offense is a bit of an unknown. How you treat that quarterback's a bit of an unknown, you know?
His ability to run and then
Yeah,
buy time, and
yeah.
that's like any cornerback's worst nightmare.
100%. So I think that combination is maybe the one that scares me the most. But look, in having this convo, I wouldn't disregard the wide receiver duos. Those are the ones that maybe have me most concerned. So that's where Hank's right to bring up Dallas, because now they do have Pickens.
Yep.
That's where I would say don't underrate the Jaguars duo, because that by week 16 could be something.
Yep.
And the Eagles duo, you know, like I think Pat's a great matchup for A.J. Brown, but Devontae Smith being in that mix definitely adds another layer on top of how their run game is going to demand a lot of attention.
I agree with both the Eagles and the Jags, but to me, again, if we're just talking toughest matchup for Pat, then I don't think it is the Eagles because he's going to be on A.J. Brown.
Yeah, you're right.
And if Devontae Smith goes crazy, I don't think they're going to go away from the plan. Unless you get to the second half and A.J. Brown is torching Pat, and then you say, like, well, let's just flip things and see. I don't think that's going to happen, though. The Jags, I don't know. There's the unknown factor there, but I think there's just a little bit more of an unknown with CeeDee, so I go that way.
I'm just, honestly, I already said it, but I would say Malik Nabers because of how good he is, but then I remember their quarterback situation, and I'm not worried at all, and that's just where I come back to. Because Pat's history with Jamar, I'm just not worried about that. Now, it's obviously the other side, and a lot of people in the Twitter chat have brought up, like, man, that week 4 game is going to be so interesting to see Riley Moss on Higgins and see what happens. I'm confident that there's going to be a big bounce back game for Riley Moss. I think he's going to be up to it. I think the Broncos will give him a little bit more help as well. Remember, this is the first game he's coming off the IR, playing T. Higgins in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, who would have been the MVP last year if they just would have made the playoffs and had a slightly better defense. So that's as tough of a situation as you can come back to. And I just
huge early test for that defense.
Huge early test. So I'm excited for that game. For that, it's always great to see Pat go up against Jamar, but like we've already seen it. So I just stick with Malik Nabers, and I'm not even worried about that game. Honestly, I thought I knew how good Pat was. Hearing Aqib talk about him, I think he might be even better than I realized. He was the defensive player of the year last year, so the Broncos are lucky to have him. Let's hit a super chat right now from Spencer Niles, who says, I'm flying to Denver week 11 for my first Broncos game. What are the odds I get to see the Broncos throwbacks? So this is the Raiders game?
Whoa.
I don't know.
No, this is the Chiefs game because bye's right after.
Yeah.
I think, Spencer, throwbacks are going to be the week before. I think it's going to be Broncos, Raiders, Thursday night football. If you're talking like when you use your throwbacks, isn't it against the Raiders at home on prime time? I know it's the Chiefs the next week, but at night?
They were the throwbacks twice last year. One of them was against the Raiders, correct?
Yep, when Pat had his pick 6.
I'd imagine they'll wear them 3 times this year.
Because they can get to wear them now.
What the image of those Raiders jerseys going against the old school Broncos jerseys did to my brain.
Yeah.
Like the happy place it put it in. It was just like such a reassuring, like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Like it just soothes me to look at a football field with those two helmets and jerseys against each. It's like, this is right.
Yep.
But also because that's the game they chose last year, does that make them less likely to do it again? Like, do you do it with a new?
I know.
But
like you want to see, you want to do all the
football.
AFC. But it's not Monday night football. It's not Sunday night football.
But it's the Raiders on Thursday
It is.
night.
But it's
What
also
an
the
upgrade.
Chiefs.
I bet this game, I bet that Thursday night. So my question would be, Henry, can you wear them back-to-back weeks?
You could.
And I mean, say back 17 times, and that's the right amount. Back to back
yeah.
to back to back.
Come
All
on,
those
that'd be
weeks.
nice.
That's how you need to do
Please.
it.
That'd be nice.
That's how you got to do it.
Yep.
What an upgrade for Thursday Night Football to get lit throwbacks instead of the absurd. Remember the like one colors where like colorblind people couldn't even tell
Color
like
rush,
who,
baby.
who
Yeah,
was doing
yeah,
what.
Yeah.
Anytime it was a red team versus a blue team, who would that be? Like the Giants and Commanders or something?
It was like a Bills Patriots with the
it's
Patriots in
green
all
and
reds
blue.
or
Yeah,
something.
green and
Yeah.
blue. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was legendary.
Yeah.
It's legendary.
Also, I wonder if we're underrating Terry McLaurin in this. Because again, stylistically, he is the toughest. And
Yeah,
on
I
top
agree.
of that, also like a good receiver.
Yeah.
Automatic 1,100 yards. You
And
factor
he
in like
actually has a good quarterback.
and a quarterback who makes you cover longer.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Well, and that's where, like, look, Malik Nabers, Garrett Wilson, utmost respect for those guys' games and talent. But I've seen Pat against Garrett Wilson. That's a 1,000-yard receiver who's basically done it his whole career.
Yeah.
Against Pat, though, with those quarterbacks, there's not much you
Totally.
can do.
Yeah.
And I kind of think Malik Nabers is in the same exact
I agree.
situation. Scary Terry, however,
Yeah.
has a much different set of circumstances around him and a similar mismatch, right? He doesn't fit the profile that's to a T what Pat can
Totally.
shut down.
Again, like-
so that's going to be a fun one.
Basically 1,100 yards every year. Never really that much less. Never really that much more. He isn't as good of a football player as Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, but he isn't too far off in the style. But I also wonder
Yeah.
if because of that, that's a game where you say like, Pat, just lock down Debo.
Yeah.
It might be a waste of him, but then you have Riley press and a safety over the top on Terry.
That's
and
the
it's,
thing, right? Might
Yeah.
just be easier.
so that might not even be his matchup.
Yeah.
Man, and I just don't sleep on Malik Nabers. He put
He's
up
amazing. He's phenomenal.
over 100 catches, 1,200 yards with
he's phenomenal.
Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, and Tim Boyle starting games.
Yeah. Tim Boyle's amazing, bro.
All right, let's round out the show by going to Mr. Bronco. Today's
Oh, man.
matchup, we had Cortland Sutton going up against Alex Singleton. And Henry, you hit this almost spot on. This would have been a push. You wouldn't have
80-20.
won. You would have got your money back,
I
though.
had the 50 though, right?
Sutton. Oh, yeah, that's 60.
That's 60.
Sutton had 80% of the vote. Alex Singleton, 20% of the vote. So actually, I'm sorry, Henry. You would have
Dang,
hit the
yeah.
vote there.
Blowout.
A blowout. You called this right on. So Cortland Sutton moving
legit.
to the championship round of our Mr. Bronco tomorrow. We'll have the other side, 1 versus 4, which is Garrett Bowles going against Quinn Miners. 2 big guys going up against each other. Make sure to tune in 11 a.m. for that one. Shout out to Benny. Shout out to Aqib. Shout out to Dre for joining us. Shout out to Henry. Shout out to Dion and you here. We'll be back with one more show this week where we're going to talk about who's Bo Nix's best comp. After Brock Purdy got the massive deal he got, is that a good comp or a bad comp? And if it's a bad comp, who is the best comp? We'll talk about that with our guy, Fran Duffy, tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.